You're watching Mainebiz Sunday, Maine's business news source.
Welcome to Rapid Fire Sunday. With us today to discuss some of the most pressing topics in Maine's business community are Pam Hurley-Moser, president of Hurley Travel Experts in Portland; Yellow Light Breen, a senior vice president of Bangor Savings Bank; Tarren Bragdon, CEO of the Maine Heritage Policy Center; and Cynthis Dill, a state representative from Cape Elizabeth and House Chair of the legislature's Broadband Strategy Council. Welcome and thanks for coming. Glad you could make it here today. I realized as we were starting this program that you've all been on here on the show before, so we're going to consider you to be regulars, and we're glad you're here. Let's jump right in. We've got a lot of topics to cover, so we want to jump right in. Today's first topic number one, is Show Me the Jobs. While the recession appears to be ending, employment in Maine remains weak and will take 2 to 3 years to recover fully, Charlie Colgan said during his annual Breakfast with Charlie economic forecast. Colgan added that the federal stimulus package has put enormous amounts of money into the economy. Well, that may be so, but even when we look at the number of jobs created on the federalrecovery.org website, we see that Maine ranks number 46 out of all 50 states in the total number of jobs that have been created. So I guess my question, and I'm going to start with you, Yellow, is can we feel the impacts of the stimulus set? Can you feel it?
Well, I'm always stimulated when I'm on this show, Alan. I think, for starters, though, anyone who was thinking that a federal stimulus package was going to somehow end this recession in a hurry was just fooling themselves. I mean, the reality is it was going to be bad. We're at 10% unemployment. People who have any money at all are saving it, not spending it. Businesses are not investing. Could the stimulus package keep the worst of the worst from being even worse than it is? Well, I think that was the intent, and hopefully it's achieved a little of that. There's one piece of it that I do know something about, and that's the education side of the stimulus funds. One purpose was just to keep the cuts at state and local levels from being truly devastating. And so Maine has and will receive $130 million in stimulus funds to keep local school budgets closer to what they would have been. Despite that, we cut $38 million from school budgets in the middle of the year. It would have been double that number if we hadn't had the federal help. So teachers in the classroom, programs, and the spending that equals at the local level on the school side is at least helped by this package. Right,
and that gets to that kind of retaining jobs as opposed to creating jobs. Anybody else? Are you feeling any of the jobs being created in the state? Can you show me what there are any out there? Have you seen the effects?
Well, I know that the road that I take to Augusta every day is paved, and presumably there were people who did it.
Okay.
So there were certainly jobs created in the 295 improvement project. And I also know that there have been grants awarded to a private company to build a telecommunications infrastructure project. It's going to be roughly $32 million, as well as significant funds through the Department of Education to utilize the university in creating offshore wind.
Right.
The combination of those two huge projects will create jobs, but clearly it hasn't. And I think the reason why our Senator Collins, as well as our Washington delegation in the House, supported the stimulus bills because they recognized that it was necessary to at least, like Yellow said, to prevent the worst from worse happening. But
Okay, good. So, Tarren, how about you?
Well, you're really, on its face, Maine's economy is in real trouble. We have as many people working today as we had 10 years ago. So we essentially have this lost decade. In that same period of time, we have 100,000 more people on Medicaid and other welfare programs. And so we've created incredible demand for government services, but we don't have the people working in the private sector to support that. And what we need is to stop believing that government can create jobs and start doing things that will help the private sector, and those private sector jobs come back.
Okay, well, let's ask the private sector. Pam, you create jobs, your private business. Have you noticed any of the impact from any of the stimulus spending in Maine? Has it impacted your business at all?
It has not.
Okay, so you can't really, it hasn't touched you yet?
From what I understand, no, I don't feel that. I am cautiously optimistic. When jobs are created, people travel.
Right. Right. Okay. Good. So it sounds to me like,
a little soon.
Even though there's enormous amounts of money being poured into our economy, as Charlie Colgan tells us, that psychological impact hasn't really hit yet, and it's going to take some time, even though those are slowly being created, perhaps. Okay. Good. Let's go on to topic number 2. Lawmakers target business tax breaks. More than half a dozen state programs that extend tax breaks to businesses, some going back as far as 1973, are being scrutinized by the legislature's taxation committee as lawmakers dig to plug a $400 million budget hole. All right, Tarren, let's talk to you about this one. I mean, reining in the state budget is, my guess is you're going to think that's a good thing. And we all do, I think. But is cutting business tax breaks a good idea now? Don't we want to stimulate businesses?
Well, exactly. And one of the things that the legislature doesn't really seem to appreciate as much is the uncertainty that they create really is a big wet blanket on the economy when it comes to private businesses taking risks and investing capital and creating new jobs. So if you're all of a sudden changing the tax code and getting rid of these breaks that affected how much business paid in taxes, what their expenses were, you're creating uncertainty. And those business owners are going to say, we're not going to take a risk investing in Maine. We're going to grow somewhere else or not grow at all.
Okay. Cynthia.
I think when you're looking at cutting $438 million from the budget, it would be irresponsible of the legislature to not have everything on the table, including business tax exemptions or incentives to businesses that are not run well, are not efficient, and not producing jobs or any income.
Not all incentives are equal.
Exactly. I mean, there was an independent report done by OPEGA, which is the Office of Policy Evaluation, and they concluded that millions of dollars are actually being wasted on these so-called incentive programs. And so I think everybody would agree that if you had to choose between handing out an inefficient or administrating an inefficient program for businesses as opposed to, helping hungry children in Aroostook County have lunch every day, you'd make those choices. So I believe that everything has to be on the table, including incentives that may not be working for business.
Okay. Others?
I agree. I think scrutinizing these programs, because I'm not 100% confident that they all make sense.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm a believer in businesses getting tax cuts, not some businesses getting tax credits, but they do exist. And I think they do need to be fair and equitable and accessible, because I find that some of these companies seem to need to spend tremendous valuable resources just to even have access or to understand them and to get them and to have them be on their radar.
Good.
So.
Look, I mean, I think we can't be pitting hungry children against a long-term, healthy Maine business economy. We have to find a way out of that box. Maine business is hurting right now. They're getting hit with $55 million in additional unemployment premiums. That comes out of the private sector. Those unemployment claims just don't get paid by magic. So they're struggling with that. And I think the real issue, as Tarren said, is businesses make investments on a very long-term horizon. Every business person I've talked to over the past decade has said stability about the business climate and the rules and regulations matters way more to us than whether it's a really good business climate or just a so-so one. We need the stability and the predictability when we make a 7, a 15, or even a 40-year long-term investment in capital in Maine. We have to not cut that out of the picture, just despite the short-term crisis.
Okay, sounds like the consensus there is, keep the business tax breaks if you can. If they make sense, weigh them in the long-term benefit to the total economic package. So I'm glad I'm not in the legislature. I'm glad you're doing it. Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to cover the next set of issues. So stick with us. Stay with us. We'll be right back with our Rapid Fire Sunday panel.
Mainebiz Sunday is brought to you by Bangor Savings Bank, where you can enjoy free ATMs worldwide.